Good morning. I'm going to take you on a quick little walkthrough and explain what we've been doing over here. And then I've got a few time-lapse videos of us planting these things. Yeah, and just a quick overview since I promised you what we were going to do over here. We brought up these panels, but I had talked to you about that before. Brought these up. And then we got some of these for free. So we're going to start with these and we're going to go from there for the fencing that we talked about. But this project, basically I wanted to wait until we got it going. My teenagers have spearheaded this idea. They want a U-pick orchard, but not a U-pick orchard in the traditional sense where you have all one kind. They want a permaculture U-pick orchard. So the idea is, we were getting real late in the season. So even though we have all this fence over here to put up, we wanted to get plants and get them in the ground to not miss the season of getting these established before this Texas summer takes over. And we wanted to beat this rain that's coming in. And I think we did a pretty good job. As I walk around, you'll see there's some empty spots. And that's just for some stuff that's coming in the mail because we still have some things coming. But we have 3 different kinds of trees in here. We have apple, we have plum, and we have peach. And the idea is when you go down a row, you'll have a peach, a plum. See, there's no plum right here, so that's coming in the mail. And then an apple, so that's an apple right here. And in between, these are all spaced 20 feet so that when they grow to their height and their width, they'll close up together, but they won't be too close where it's a problem. So all the trees are 20 feet apart. And then in between the trees goes a bush. So the bush layer. So this is actually a pomegranate, but because pomegranates grow kind of smaller like a bush, we counted it as a bush. And then we've got blueberries. We're kind of heavy on the blueberries because out here blueberries grow really well for us. So we're hoping to have a lot of blueberries for the U-pick. Now the boys, my teenage boys, they're the ones who chose the kinds of trees and bushes. And we kind of did it together, but they spearheaded it with all of their research. This is a TIFF blue. So most of the blueberries that we have in right now are TIFF blue. They're rabbit eyes. They're supposed to grow really good. I hope so. But if you can see, there's no mulch or anything around the trees. I'm aware that that's a problem. We just haven't gotten there yet. We have we're gonna put cardboard around them and then mulch on top. For now, we just really needed to get them in, beat the rain, and then that will come next. So, but I was talking about how we're spacing. So my 9-year-old boy, well, he's 8, but he's almost 9, came out with me and we took a string. And so this one's here, and from 20 feet from there is to this one. Okay. And then on the row, it's 20 feet. Oh, my hand. It's 20 feet to that one. So all the trees, no matter which way you go, have 20 feet across. Now, because of that, that made the aisle in between about 18. So this is about 18 feet. And the boys want to do annual garden in the aisle and sell those vegetables while we're waiting for this to become something that could even be a U-pick, because the bushes will start providing in 2 years or so, but the trees are going to take quite a while. So that's the general idea, and that's the layout. So we have one row here, we have one row here, and then we have one row here. And then we did manage to fit one more row down in here. But there are a lot of empty spots because we have some bushes coming. What we're using for our bush layers, like I said, the blueberry and the pomegranate, but we also have some bush cherries that I managed to get that are supposed to grow really good down here, and elderberries, because elderberries are amazing. And so the idea is in between there, we might put some perennial flowers or something, but but that's how a permaculture orchard works. Now, in a permaculture orchard, we've planted one before, and last time we planted it, you're supposed to have, you know, the idea is nitrogen fixing trees. We skipped that this time because last time we got thornless honey locust, and they were supposed to be nitrogen fixing. And the way that works is they grow real big and then you cut them back. And after you cut them back, that's when the nitrogen can get released. So it's a lot of labor, but it also takes up a lot of room. And as we found out, almost all of our thornless honey locusts, every time we turned them back, they came up thorny. So I don't know if that was just, I was probably just lied to, but I didn't want to deal with that. So the boys and I talked about it, and what we're going to do is we have a gentleman that lives by us who does orcharding, and he does clover. And so what we're going to do is get some clover established in here as much as possible, and it'll probably take a while, and then chop and drop it at the base of all the trees and bushes, and that will provide nitrogen for the plants. But like I said, they do need to be heavily mulched in. But yeah, so this is a pomegranate, this is a peach, this is a blueberry. And so if you look, everything is spread out where the same kind of tree is not next to the same kind of tree. Sorry, that's loud. So this is an apple, that's a peach. This is a peach way over here, and it's a different variety. So this is called a harvester peach, and I need to trim a lot of these back. Sorry for the ADHD, I'm gonna stay on track. This is a harvester peach, this is a Loring peach, and then the next closest peach, I believe, is over here, and it's a Redskin. And we spent a lot of time talking to nurseries in the area to pick the ones that the varieties we picked. And the boys did a lot of research. They're super excited to do this. I do know my boys are a little older. When we were talking to the nursery, they said, you know, they realize they're gonna grow up and be adults by the time this is producing. And the boy said, yeah, we understand, but I think for the most part, my one boy is planning to go to welding school, and the other one, is looking at being an electrician right now. And both of them are thinking of staying in the area. I would like that personally, but you know, they get to live their own life. So back to what I was saying. So peach way over here, peach here, apple, okay, and then peach way over there, and that's a different peach as well. So when you look at them, yeah, I already said the different trees, but also the same thing applies to the bushes. Sorry, it's loud. So what we do with the bushes is blueberry up here, boop, pomegranate. When we go down the row, I had letters, and the way that I organized it was P for pomegranate, B for blueberry, O for other. So the very first one there is gonna be other. Probably put an elderberry there, but it's gonna be one of those others, pomegranate, blueberry. And the same thing with the trees, so everything is kind of different. Now, when we got our apples, at one of the nurseries, he recommended getting a crab apple. That's what this is right here. And it doesn't have a label on it because I accidentally cut it off. But it's so pretty. But that's supposed to really help pollinate all the apples around it. And so we kind of put it in the very center of everything. And I don't know, I'm really excited for the kids. I'm excited for me, I'm excited for the kids. They've been into permaculture and growing things for a while. And we didn't really do a bush layer in our other permaculture orchard that we had planted in the Utah house. And we had planned to go back and do it, and then we never did. So this time we're trying to start right off. And we have, speaking of that, we have, so with a permaculture orchard, you have the overstory of the tree, the bush layer, you have a vine layer, and you have a ground cover layer. Now we talked about doing the clover for the ground layer, but we're also going to plant strawberries all around each one of these trees. And I have a bunch of bare root strawberries coming in the mail. And so each tree should get 4 strawberry plants. And if you've ever seen the strawberries come, they're super tiny, they're small. And we'll record us doing it. But the idea is then that'll grow in and do the ground cover. So, and then we'll have a lot of strawberries too, hopefully. I don't know anybody who doesn't like strawberries. But yeah, so we planted this way all the way down, and it's about 140 feet, I think, this way. And we planted all this out, and the only empty spots right now for every, 10, 20 feet are the things that haven't come yet. Yeah. Oh gosh, sorry. I'm very excited. We're just excited. I don't know how to say that. It's hard for me to stay on track. I think you guys have heard that before though. So I had a friend with a tractor come dig all the holes for our fence. So we need to make an H-brace at this fence, and then along this fence line down this way, all the way down there, is going to be field fence for animals, because we want animals on this side. And then along the back half is also going to be field fence. And then we're going to try to use this privacy fence that we got for free and utilize those brackets to create a sound barrier up here, as well as privacy, just to make it nicer. So I think that'll work really well. And then the other side where my car is over here, there will also be the full sound barrier. Privacy fence. Sorry. I've got my trailer hooked up. We got a bunch of fencing today. The posts picked up, and I need to go get my water tank, because as of right now, we don't actually have water over here. And I know I'm putting the cart before the horse, and I've always said, don't do the things until you have the infrastructure. Don't get the animals until you have the fencing. And that's true to a point, but also sometimes you can create that sense of urgency to get things done by putting the cart before the horse. So we have actually planted all these trees without any water over here. And we have a gentleman coming to help us get gutters on the roof of this building right here, and those tanks hooked up, which will be our water source over here. And he's supposed to come in the next week or two, fingers crossed, to get that established so that we actually have water for this. In the meantime, I have a large white IBC tote that goes on our trailer, and I put it as high as I can up here, and we just gravity feed everything. And now I did a time-lapse video. You'll see me pull out a hose, and that's what happened. I had the trailer here and we pulled out the hose, but the hose doesn't quite reach. My husband thinks he has another hose somewhere. I'm gonna grab it, and hopefully I can not have to take buckets so much. And then once we have water here and established, we'll have some drip lines on here, and we won't have the water when it rains, but obviously they're all going to need babying for quite a bit until all of the bushes and trees are established. Now, this is our spring planting, so to speak, and then come fall, I would really love, I don't know if it's going to happen, we would really love to plant out this side, because as many trees and bushes as that is, it's not really that many for the vision that the boys have, and myself. I'd be lying if it's only theirs. But we have this big building that was purpose built for something else, and when we were talking about it, we have high hopes for the building. The building side of this project is my side. I know a lot of people in our homeschool group that they make things and sell things. We have a great bread baker. We have people who make crochet items. We have people who raise animals. We have people that have cows for milk. We have all sorts of things. Soap makers. I used to make soap. But people who have items that they'd love to sell but nowhere to sell them. And so the hopes is if we can get foot traffic off this big here, that then maybe we can have a U-pick orchard with a farm stand. Now this is a giant building for a farm stand. It was purpose built for something else, but we're hoping to utilize it for that, for a farm stand situation and a market. And I'm hoping that as long as we can get electricity hooked up and stuff, that we can do it in such a way that it helps all these families, and not, I'm not looking to fill my pockets, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping to give them a boost, because a lot of times the barrier between making a product and selling a product is having a place to sell it. And a lot of the places when you try to sell it, it's very cost prohibited. You know, they say, oh, you know, it's going to be $400 a month to leave your things here, and taking that leap is astronomical. So we want, my side is the building side. I want to build a little playground here, because I think it would be beautiful to have a playground here, and where the kids can play while we do U-Pick or while people shop. It just sounds fun. I also know one of my friends who has her license to cut hair, but she's got nowhere to do it. I think it would be awesome if she could put a chair in here and be able to do that. But this side is like big high dreams, and this side is my boys' more realistic dreams, even if they do sound big. But yeah, so we'll be doing annual in between while we wait for the trees to grow up. We're also going to be running chickens. The boys picked out the American Bresse, B-R-E-S-S-E, and I've heard that said a few different ways, but that's how I'm going to say it. That's what they picked for the chickens, so that we can sell the eggs and the meat birds, and they're a great heritage breed, and we want to run them in between so that we get fertilizer on the ground, because you always need animals in your system, and we're hoping that works out really good. It's an endeavor, but yeah, so we'll run the animals through there. We need a lot of animal pressure to help build up these soils. And then the other fence, the field fence, like I said before, will go from, it looks like from this white post to that white post, but that's not actually where it's gonna go. When we were doing something else with this area, that's how big I was going to cut it off. But I need the rest of this on the outside for because I want some cows. I used to have horses. I would love to get to horses at some point, but I have a feeling or a need to only get horses when I have a place that the horses would choose to live, because I don't want them to end up in a lot of horses that you keep. You always have a sacrifice area, obviously, a sacrifice paddock that's going to be like this, but I don't want the majority of their lives to be standing on dirt. And so until we can get enough grasses, safe grasses, I know you can see these thistles, I have to come get them, safe grasses and forbs for them, I'm not going to get horses. But it is a dream of mine to get back into horses. But yeah, like, so I was saying, we have this post already in. Technically we have that post already in, but it would probably end up a scratching post for animals with a birdhouse on top or something. But the fence line here is going to go down this way to there, so that I get that much more land for our grasses. But yeah, my friend that came and did the holes, we've got nice big holes. So we'll be getting that fencing in. We'll get that fencing up there. We've got a lot of projects. There's going to be a lot of videos, and the production quality might go up, or it really might not. But I'm going to do my best. So yeah, at the end of this, I'll put the time-lapse video from the other day down here. I dream of a small greenhouse, but you know, dreams. If I keep talking about dreams, I'm gonna be here all day. We had these raised beds, this metal for raised beds with screws, and when we opened it, it was kind of overwhelming, and then it got stuck out in the rain, obviously. But metal is metal, and it still will work. So we're still going to put all these together, and we're going to do the raised beds in the middle up there for a while, and they should last long enough to the point where we're then not using them anymore, because the trees are so big, or we'll plant something shady. But it's a system design, permaculture is, and it's a lifestyle, and it's not to be done in a day. And so when I talk about the time horizon being so far out, and it sounds kind of wild and crazy, but that's part of the plan, and it's part of the system to grow over time. But I'm really excited to get all this stuff going. Honestly, it's going to be really amazing. And this building will probably end up being a house for one of my children someday, because it really is a very large building inside. And it doesn't have to look like a big garage. Kind of looks like a big garage right now, but there's easy ways that we can change that to be nice looking. But I do have 5 children, and my hopes and dreams is always to have them on property here with us. And if they have to work outside of the property because something like this doesn't actually provide enough income, that's wonderful. But to have them close to me, I hope that's my hopes and dreams. But they will live their life and do the things that they're going to do. And for now, we'll just keep going like we're going to be able to do that. And if not, then if one of them leaves, then it's good for the other ones. And yeah, I don't know. Kind of rambling today. Trying to beat the rain. I got to get back to the house. I've got to reload up my IBC tote onto here and then fill it up with water so that I can come make sure everybody gets as much water as they possibly can hold, so that they can be successful. Some of these trees, this one specifically, this was a bare root. So I'm going to be chopping that down, essentially, making it really short. If you haven't seen videos on that, the idea is so that you don't have, and it's already leafing out, so you don't have it working so hard. We'll probably take it off right about here. Take this whole top off, and it's got a great shape, but it's just too stressful on the plant, especially being just planted. And then we'll probably even cut some of these branches shorter, and it'll fill in, it'll come back with bigger. So the bare root, that's what's going to happen there. These other trees were actually in pots, but if you've ever seen the pots from nurseries, they're very small, and so their roots really aren't any much bigger than a bare root, but they've already leafed out. They've already put all that energy to it. So I think that I will leave them all to go through the summer with leaf cover, and then in the fall we'll probably prune these back, because trees do most of their root growth in the winter. So that's the lighthearted plan there. The bare roots definitely need to be chopped down, not chopped down, but you get it, cut back a bunch. But everything else I think will stay until fall. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's like super exciting. And I know I hinted at saying that I had things to go and to talk about, and these are the things. So it's exciting to see your children get excited about things. When they're little, they get excited about everything. When they're teenagers, it's harder for you to see the things they're excited about, other than, getting pizza or having a movie night or playing their video games or things like that. But to see them get really excited about this project and to research it and to get into it is just like super exciting for me. So the excitement is contagious. And yeah, thanks for bearing with me 23 minutes. I didn't get a video up last week, so hopefully there's enough here for you to forgive me my follies of missing up this thing. But to hold myself accountable, I hope we get to look back on this video in 10 years and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it started with some sticks in the ground, and some hopeful young men dreams. And their mom. I'm pretty full of dreams though. So, all right, well, thank you. And fingers crossed for me doing the editing.